Welcome, Maggie. I'm so excited to be chatting with you today, especially as we close out Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Stress Awareness Month. So, huge welcome from the Flamingo team.
Thanks, Laura. We're so happy to be here.
Wonderful. So, just to get us grounded in a little bit of your work and who you are, could you tell us about your role at ETI and about what Exhale to Inhale is doing with your amazing work?
Yes, I'm Maggie LaRocca. I'm the executive director of Exhale to Inhale, and our mission is to use trauma-informed yoga to empower survivors of sexual and domestic violence while giving communities tools and resources to support them. And we're working towards a world where every survivor has access to the healing power of trauma-informed yoga.
So beautiful. Your work has really grown and expanded over the last few years. And you've really brought into focus this idea of trauma informed yoga. Could you talk a little bit about how trauma informed yoga has similarities or maybe differences with sort of traditional practices of yoga?
Sure. And Exhale to Inhale's trauma-informed yoga methodology is rooted in safety, simplicity, and choice-based philosophy. So in a traditional classroom setting, many teachers might share traditional asanas to students. And at Exhale to Inhale, we of course want to honor those roots of yoga, but also encourage survivors to explore what they feel in their body rather than being told what they should feel in their bodies.
That's amazing. So, it really comes down to practices of agency, autonomy, choice, freedom. And how do you see that kind of coming to life in the practice with the instructors who are working directly with these amazing survivors?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Laura. You will see us exploring invitational language. We use A/B choice making, so you can try this or you can try that. And it sounds very simple, but for survivors who may have had those basic rights taken away from them, this might be their first opportunity to make a simple choice on the mat. And that's really what we hope they will take off the mat as well.
How are you all thinking about agency and autonomy, sort of on the mat, off the mat, and as survivors take this practice into their day to day life?
Yeah, I think it's important to note that sexual and domestic violence is it's a life-changing violation of bodily autonomy. It can bring about confusion, shame, fear, and betrayal. And body neutrality is such an empowering concept because it allows survivors to accept the ability to reconnect to their bodies and to appreciate what their bodies can do without some of those unrealistic expectations. So when survivors can experience body neutrality and they can restore body autonomy, what they can do is endless. And one of the most inspiring things about being part of Exhale to Inhale is seeing survivor leadership and the ways that individuals that are impacted by violence have turned an incredibly difficult experience in a way for them to give back to others.
Oh, beautiful, Maggie. And I think what you had said about kind of appreciating what one's body can do and being able to sort of reintegrate feelings of safety into day to day kind of life is so transformative and so profound for the survivors that you work with.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. That's right.
And how do you all kind of think about this throughout specifically Sexual Assault Awareness Month? How are you all leaning into these ideas specifically? And then how does that take shape sort of throughout the year beyond Sexual Assault Awareness Month?
Yeah, I think there's so much shame at times about talking about sexual violence. So we really are trying to create safe spaces for survivors and allies to take action this month. That can look like something different in every community, and every small action can really make a big difference. So we have to remember, I think, that this global issue is preventable. So, if we can offer tools for healing for survivors and their community, we can work towards a world where there isn't gender based violence, sexual violence, and domestic violence. So, I think that's very key. And we also want to uplift these concepts throughout the year with partnerships like Flamingo that help us take our work and put it into action. So, I was talking about earlier what can happen when a survivor has the opportunity to heal. They can go on and do incredible things like our trauma informed yoga scholarship program. And the stories that you hear about ways that we've been able to take the lifelong healing journey and turn it into a powerful way to give back to the community is really inspiring and something that we want to uplift this month and also throughout the year.
Beautiful. And you all also, I think, one of the really interesting parts of your work that you have really engaged in recently is your research behind the impact of your coursework. And you've had the opportunity to bring this to a few larger stages and getting published. So, talk a little bit about what that research means to you all, how you're thinking about building a strong foundation for support, and maybe anything that you have on the radar in terms of how to bring that research to bigger audience to spread some more awareness of that.
Yeah, thank you for highlighting that milestone for the organization. Many years ago, we decided it was really important to look at the impact of what we are doing. And with the publication of the Research in the Violence Against Women's Journal, which is a peer-reviewed journal, we hope to really work towards some of those misconceptions about how yoga can be a tool and really answer the question of why yoga. We know that through our research, which is ongoing, that yoga is an effective, accessible capacity building tool for survivors and the staff that support them. So there are many different challenges to help seeking among trauma survivors. There's a lot of barriers to care. It's difficult, right, to get mental health treatment. There's a lot of different decisions that you have to make. There's a lot of different accommodations, whether it's childcare or transportation, or just making sure you have the right tools. So really providing accessible, portable tools that focus on empowerment are so key to the long-term healing that we need for survivors and also for the prevention of sexual violence.
That's right. And you all certainly have been such leaders in the field for shining a bright light on not only the impact of this particular modality for healing, but the kind of ability for different communities to really lean in on this work. And you all, through your trauma informed yoga program, partner with, a number of amazing community based organizations. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how that work comes to life and what you've heard from different participant sites about kind of the impact on getting to engage with your approach has on the community and kind of the folks who they serve through their work.
So when we really focus and think about our mission, our next step is how do we actually carry that out? And the first thing that we do is we partner with over 60 different nonprofits, colleges, places where survivors already may be seeking out services. So that whole approach of being right there, being another accessible form of care that's offered. And at the same time, Laura, we're providing a lot of education and support to those partner sites of how can you use trauma-informed yoga as an option when you are supporting survivors in your space. And then the second thing we do is we provide weekly live Zoom classes for survivors everywhere. We know that not every person is going to identify with the term survivor. Some may be in active situations that they're not able to leave, and they may not be seeking support through formal institutions. So it's really important to have an online class. We have an incredible group of trauma-informed yoga teachers that bring their personal experience, their immense skill sets to support and show up and create these safe spaces. And then finally, our trauma-informed yoga training program. We want to be one of those change makers out there. We want to equip communities with trauma-informed yoga training skills. And we want to also center diversity, equity, and representation in our scholarship program. So ensure that everyone feels welcome in our community, that we can reflect the communities that we're serving and offer these opportunities. So we really feel that by taking on those three different ways, we're able to meet survivors where they are, we're able to provide direct support where needed, and we're also able to build that ripple effect that comes with a program like a training program or a scholarship program that folks can take it back out to their communities and use it in their own innovative and new ways to support survivors.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And just to double click into the scholarship program, it's been such an ultimate joy to get to partner with you all on expanding that and really one of the pieces that you all as an org excel at is centering survivors and all that you do. And so would love to just hear a little bit about what you've heard from some of the scholarship recipients and how they've gone on to kind of have that ripple effect in their own communities within that sort of framework of being truly survivor-led, survivor-centered, and very supportive to the community that you all are targeting.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. I think with the evolution of the scholarship program, initially it was just to train our yoga teacher volunteers. And now we have such a diversity of participants. We've had a police officer who identified as a survivor. We've had a lawyer who wanted to take this practice and build it into their curriculum. We've had social service providers through the Family Justice Center and the New York City Mayor's Office to End Gender-Based Violence. And so I think one of the most inspiring things is that each of those professions, whether they have that personal connection or they have that professional goal to really expand their offerings, are taking it and building a network within their community based on the training. So, the things that we hear of, although I went through formal mental health training or I've been trained as as a social service provider, I never thought about how the body is connected to healing. I've never thought specifically about how the survivor experience connects directly to what I was doing and how I might be reaching individuals without even knowing it. And so I think those pieces have really been really key for us as an organization. And with Flamingo's support, we've been able to bring in even more folks with backgrounds that may look a little bit different from our first initial training group.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Maggie. It's really beautiful to hear the ripple effect of the folks who you've brought in into your network in a formal capacity, and to see how they have really built those strong community networks within the unique spaces that they serve. As you all sort of think about how to light the fire, so to speak, with other groups outside of those who you're reaching, what is sort of like one piece of advice or one misconception about trauma-informed yoga that might alleviate any questions or fears about participating in something like this?
It's such a great point, and we know that seeking out support if you've been through trauma, any kind of trauma, particularly sexual violence and domestic violence, you can feel like, wow, I don't know if this is for me. I've never tried this before. And trauma-informed yoga at Exhale to Inhale requires no experience. It requires no equipment. Come as you are and make it your own. And, I think I want to just really focus on the part that it is all about the participants and their experience. We are just a guide. We're offering some suggestions or ways that might work, but we really ultimately look to our participants to find what works for them. So I think when a lot of folks think of yoga, they may think of headstands or traditional poses that may take a whole lifetime to seek out. But if you really focus on the true focus of yoga, which is the mind body connection, and we think about understanding how our body is a tool for us, how we can regulate our nervous system through our breath. And being able to tap into that strength that we all have that may be taken away from us in a variety of different ways. But if we can tap into that, we can then present to many other situations in a more full experience that shows our true self, which is what we're trying to help shine.
Ooh, that resonates. I love what you said. The body as a tool is so profound and so powerful that it can actually be a space where we can revisit for safety, for regulation, and that, exhale to inhale is truly equipping folks with those tools to be able to heal, to put down the burden of trauma, of shame, of, experiencing something that was not their choice or their wish in the first place. So it's so profound to hear that your programs are really directly targeting that, and allowing folks who identify as a survivor to be able to feel that feeling of safety in their body and that true sort of neutrality, that the body is a tool, is functional, and that we can find safety there.
Thanks, Laura. Yeah, really well said. And, I think with our partnership with Flamingo, we've also just been so affirmed in some of these feelings and some of these actions. I think, you're not always going to feel great about your body. It's not always going to work the way that you want it to, and that's okay. And we're so, grateful that those messages are carried out in some of our partnership opportunities because it's important for all of us to feel that way.
That's right. We need the space and the grace for all of the different ways that we may be showing up at that moment.
Space and
Absolutely.
grace.
Space
Yeah.
and grace. And what do you think is like one small thing or medium thing or big thing even that we could do today to support our own mental well-being, our own feelings of, our body is a safe space, our body is a haven, or just any advice for giving ourselves a little bit of space and grace with whatever we may be kind of managing in this moment?
Yeah, yeah. I was going to suggest, after you listen to this, just take 30 seconds and just do a quick body scan and notice all the aspects of your body that make you you. And no need to feel good or bad, just notice them and just take that moment to be with your body after this. And, if you feel called after that, just share our mission. Like we discussed earlier, just that normalization of talking about sexual violence and domestic violence and bringing light to ways that we can all heal from this because whether you've been directly or indirectly impacted, we all can play a part in that healing process. So I think just simply talking about it, say, hey, I learned about exhale to inhale today on my feed. Do you know what they do for survivors of sexual and domestic violence? And you never know who might be on the other end of that. Someone that has been living with this on their own, or someone that knows someone and is maybe looking for a resource. So that would really help us with our goal.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Maggie. And thank you for joining us, for sharing your wisdom, for shining a bright light on all that you do at Exhale to Inhale to support survivors of sexual and domestic violence. We love partnering with you and are so excited to continue our work together.
Thank you, Laura. We're so grateful to be here, and we so appreciate all the ways that Flamingo lifts up our work and supports us.